Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Vote today. Today. A little effort on your part means so much for our future. Go vote. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. I'm Zeb Bell, sitting here in the Zeb at the Ranch studio, and of course we welcome you to our program, sponsored with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with the best in tires and service to you, and also our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and start things off right with the Pledge of Allegiance on this voting day. Good morning.
Good morning. Wearing my MAGA hat and ready to vote.
There you go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. And by the way, Sean, stay there on the line. There, I've got it. And if you can turn on your internet camera, you'll see that I have got my Make America Great Again cap in my hand. It won't fit over my headsets, but and under my headsets. But anyway, I've got it right here on the desk, and I just wanted to tell you, you're not alone. You are not alone. All right. Thank you. Right now it's time for, I'll put that where everybody can see it right there on the camera. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Yeah, buddy, they get there early in the morning at 7 o'clock to serve you with all the tools and equipment you need to finish any kind of a job. Now, yesterday in the 70s, today I think we're going to hear Gina say it's in the 70s. You better get the equipment to blow out those sprinkler systems and pipes, and they've got all the equipment to get your gardens ready and winterize for next spring. You stop in or give them a call today. They've got all the tools and equipment for both long and short-term rental at K&R Rental on the Burley-Paul Highway. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
We are expecting a beautiful day for today as we are making our way through this work week. Sunny skies is what we're looking at. Highs about 69, winds out of the east-northeast at about 5 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly clear and calm, low of 35. Tomorrow, it's going to be beautiful. Sunny skies, high of 69 with an overnight low of 36 by Thursday. Sunny and 71 Friday, slight chance of rain showers, partly sunny and 59. And that's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. I appreciate that. And brought to you by Roger and the crew at K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. Give them a call, 678-3122, K&R Rental. Really nice people. I want to remind you, too, on this Election Day 2020, Daryl's Cleaners. Yeah, you're coming into town to vote or whatever, don't forget, stop over. They have everything necessary to make you look sharp, stay sharp, feel sharp with nice press clothes, dry clean. I mean, they do it all at Daryl's Cleaners. Absolutely, at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. We've been going in there for many, many, many years, and they absolutely are the best. So whether it's your Wrangler jeans, your shirts, sports jackets, ladies' dresses, whatever, they will help you at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Caller, I'll be there momentarily. I also want to tell everybody about Ramsey Heating and Electric. Oh, my. Yes, sirree, Bob. They also get there early in the morning, starting things at 7:30 in the morning. And you can bet your bottom dollar they can help you because they have all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. Is that bragging? Nope, that's a fact. 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And like I said, they're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Number to call, 678-0459. Well, good morning, caller. How are you?
Well, good morning to you, Zeb, to you and your family. It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood.
It is, and I'm tickled to dickens that it's election day. Let's all go vote.
Yes, absolutely. In 2016, we bet on a dark horse. He made a lot of promises, and do you know what? He kept those promises. So why bet on a horse that hasn't even left the barn?
Well, Biden's a horse that can't even get out of the barn. And my feeling is that we put a lot of faith and stock in Donald Trump and in 2016, and I think you'll agree with me that through all the adversity that was heaped upon him by the devastatingly dumb Democrats, Adam Schiff and the others, and of course the Mueller report and the impeachment and everything else, the man has done a tremendous job of getting things done for the American people. And I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes with my predictions, etc. But I say thank you, Keith, for kicking things off because I agree with you.
Yeah, just think of a person like him who's never been involved in politics, knows how to keep his word.
Yep, I agree.
Don't know of anyone else that has done as good a job of doing that as he has.
I agree with you because he is not a politician, doesn't want to be a politician. That's good for him. And I just think that another 4 years he can really clean up the mess that's back in Washington. Keith, you and Nancy, God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Go Trump.
All right, thank you. Caller number 2, I'll be right there, I promise. I want to remind everybody about Dino's Septic Service. And, boy, they've expanded their business, and they've got all kinds of new equipment, and to get the job done in a hurry for you, and get the job done right. All the septic tank pumping, and the septic tanks and drain fields installed, all the backhoe services, water and sewer lines installed, sewer and sink drain lines cleaned. Oh, my! You better get a hold of them today. 3 numbers. First of all, in Rupert, 436-6526. In Burley, 678-1638. And in Twin Falls, 735-8281. They are the best. Believe me, they've done work for us, and they are tremendous. Fast, fair, friendly service, Dino's Septic Service. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
A young man came up to me yesterday, and he said he didn't like calling into the show because he was upset with you. But he asked me if I'd call in and make a comment that he'd heard on the news. He said the newscaster asked Biden, do you wear boxer or brief shorts? And Biden said, depends.
Now, let me back up here a little bit. Do you mean to tell me, are you telling me an honest story that they said they didn't like me and they wanted you to call? That's kind of cowardly, isn't it?
Well, I told him he should call himself.
Okay.
But he says he won't do it.
Well,
absolutely.
I don't care if people, I really don't care in this business if people like me or not. If I say the truth, promote the truth, and have nothing but truthful stories, they can have any opinion they want about me, but I'm not going to change. But as far as asking somebody else to call when they don't like somebody, well, grow a spine. Grow a spine. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate your call. Thank you much.
Well, I felt it was worth the time.
All right.
Anyhow.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You have a wonderful day. May the Lord bless.
Okay, thank you. This is the thing about this business that has always irked me somewhat. Somebody says, well, you call and you ask this or you do that or whatever. Have a backbone. Do it yourself. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Do not forget, they are America's Diner. Oh, the best of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, anytime, all the time, and the best of desserts. Oh, boy. And really nice people serving you. All you got to do is just stop in and see what I mean at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. And I said, they are America's Diner. You stop in and see them today. By the by, we also want to remind you, your home is the one place where everything should be perfect, including your air. Ramsey Heating and Electric helps you to achieve the perfect air you deserve with reliable, groundbreaking, award-winning Lennox products. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today and see how soon you can get a Lennox home comfort system that'll help improve your health and your mood. It doesn't get any more perfect than that. Call them today at 678-0459 or visit ramseysonline.com. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. That might be me. Don't forget to go vote today. Then stop by the seniors and have lasagna and all of the trimmings for lunch.
Okay. I like how you did that with a real flair. Lasagna.
I can't hardly hear you there. My hearing aid's not working.
All right. Well, Joe.
Thank you very much for all you do.
All right, my guy. Joe Taylor, just a super, super nice gentleman. Thank you very much. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Today's the day. Today is the day. Election Day 2020. Big day, and I hope you'll get out and vote. Now, besides the presidential vote, there are many, many important races to be decided today, some of which I hope the newcomers are the victors. Now, I'm going to be going over my wish list of hopeful winners in just a few minutes. I would like to say that the amazing Donald Trump rallies yesterday, thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I mean, some of these events have had well over 50,000 people in attendance. And in inclement weather, I mean, we're talking about, what was it, last night in Kenosha, Wisconsin, it was like below 40 degrees, 39, something like that. And people stood there and stood there and stood there and just absolutely had a great time. Well, as you know on this program, and I really am not going to ever shy from it, I am wish listing that Donald Trump be re-elected, and I think he will be if. I'm going to put a little caveat there and underline the word if. The election is with minimal fraud and cheating. Let those words sink in. I believe that Donald Trump will be reelected, and I think he will be if their election is with minimal fraud and cheating. This ridiculous and absolutely insane counting and accepting votes days after today, November 3rd, is insane. And anyone that has any sense of decency at all can understand that that just opens the door for fraudulent activity on the votes. I will predict, and I've waited till today to say this because I've been a little bit tentative about what Biden is doing, along with Kamala Harris, whatever name she wants to go by today. I see a very possible landslide for Donald Trump if, there's that word again, if you and I and everybody goes to the polls and vote. Vote. The Democrats and the pollsters are all saying, oh, it's going to be so close. Why, it's going to be a nail-biter. I don't think so. I don't think so. I have called around the United States and talked to various people in Washington, D.C., and New York, and out in California, the sensible ones out in California. And I'm going to stick with my prediction that the victory tonight, if it is said anything about a victory tonight, will be a landslide for Donald Trump. Let's all be part of that landslide and go vote. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Really appreciate you giving me a call, if you would, please. Let's go through some of the races, if you will, that are going to be taking place. I'm going to get my paper over here. And we're going to go through some of the races, and I'll make some of the so-called predictions, if you will, in what's going to take place today, Election Day 2020. The constitutional amendment for the state of Idaho, that the legislature this year approved a constitutional amendment to freeze the number of legislative districts at 35. The state constitution currently allows between 30 to 35, and although there have been 35 since 1992. I absolutely urge you to vote yes on this. I do not want to see a cutting down or a milking down of the number of people that can represent the number of people. And I want to see that stay at 35, and I hope you will agree with me. We've had Speaker of the House, Representative Scott Bedke, on the phone. It's a bipartisan issue. It's not just a Republican issue. Don't think that. You're wrong if you do. And vote yes. I urge you to vote yes on the constitutional amendment to keep the districts at 35. I'm not going to get involved in the Heyburn mayor recall. Boy, that's kind of like standing on the sidelines watching two dogs fight, and you've got a dog. Don't get your dog involved in the fight. He'll get all scratched up and marred and hurt. But that Heyburn mayor recall is going on today. And I'll just leave it up to the folks over there to settle their own dirty dishes. And one more before I take the call, the Rock Creek Rural Fire Protection District levy. I absolutely am in favor of it. I've studied the math and everything else, and I think that they are always there to support us in a growing need type fire district. And I urge everybody to vote yes on the Rock Creek Rural Fire Protection District levy. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I just want to mention something, Zeb, and that is the fact that in my 60 years of voting, I had never witnessed a time when America wasn't at odds with someone, a Cold War or a hot war. It doesn't matter. We're the most peaceful right now than we can remember in my time.
Except internally.
Well, yeah, yes, you're exactly right. We have a war on our hands there.
Well, let's call it like it is, Keith.
Donald Trump, I mean, as far as the things he's done.
Yeah, let's call it like it is right now. We have a absolute ridiculous and insane movement in this country that if you don't like somebody or something, just go out and riot, burn, and cause trouble, wreak havoc, and even hurt people. This is insane. I've said this before, and it bears repeating again on this election day. I absolutely did not like Barack Obama in any way, shape, or form. The first time he ran, the second time he ran for re-election. I didn't like the man. I don't like his politics. I don't like anything about him. But did you ever hear me espouse any insurrection against him or his administration while he was in office? And I'll answer it first and foremost, no, never. But the left absolutely doesn't play by the same set of rules. They are nothing more than anarchists.
It's like my two older sons told my youngest son, quit whining and get used to it. And I thought that that's always been something on my mind, but my kids always got along. It took a little bit of pushing and shoving, but they made it.
Well, I just think that the having in Washington, D.C. and in Portland and in Seattle, the idiocy of having to worry about the left. If they don't get their way, they're going to destroy, they're going to loot, they're going to burn, they're going to hurt, they're going to do all this kind. That is not the America you and I were raised in, Keith. Don't ever think for a minute that we should let this go on. And I will say this, and if it offends somebody, that's their problem, not mine, that if Trump is reelected, which I think he will be, and I hope he is, I hope that he comes in with an iron fist, and squashes all these problems in these various democratically led cities.
You know, I can remember back when I graduated from high school, it was Burley and Rupert. They didn't have Minico then. But when they had a football game, and the loser always did damage to the other one. Always. Never a time that they didn't. But it only lasted that one night.
Yeah.
And then we went back to being somewhat normal.
Well, there's always rivalries.
It's a common thing to resist.
Well, there's always rivalries, but this isn't a rivalry. This is absolute chaotic anarchy that's going on in this country, and I just know that I've said it before. You've got to bloody some noses. Keith, God bless you for your call. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You bet.
All right. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, don't forget this Friday and Saturday, it's the great big customer appreciation sale at Redder's Showcase, 2611 Overland in Burley. Oh, my goodness, 8:30 to 6 on Friday, 9 to 5 on Saturday. Woo, boy, they're going to have floor model discounts up to 50%, and they're going to have a drawing for a free Serta Queen mattress set, $1,499 value. You don't have to be there to win. Everything in the store on sale for this customer appreciation sale at Redder's Showcase this Friday and Saturday, 2611 Overland in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Talk to me, caller.
Good morning. Good morning, Zeb. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I just went and voted. Lots of people voting, Zeb.
May I ask what location, what polling station were you at so I can get some kind of a feel for the locale?
I was in Burley, right behind Mormon Church, behind Dairy Queen in Burley.
I see. And when you say a lot of people, I mean, give us some kind of a report as to the numbers you saw.
There was probably 25 people in line when it opened up, and some people had left because they were there early and had to go to work.
Oh, my. Well, I certainly hope and pray, and I really do feel, I don't know what your thoughts are or if you talk to any of the voters, but I honestly feel, of course, we live in a conservative area, so there's prejudicial feelings on my part, but I think nationwide we're going to be shocked as to the outcome today and the numbers of people that are going to go to the polls.
These people were serious that were there, and there was all kinds of people there. There was Spanish, there was all kinds of people there, and they were serious voters. They were meaning business.
Well, I know that myself personally, Deanne and I are going to head in right after this program to vote. I know a lot of people are trying to arrange their schedules so they can absolutely exercise the freedom right of voting. And I thank you for your call this morning. That means a lot. Thank you so much.
You bet, Zeb. It's going to be a good day.
All right, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's good to get those reports. How about you? Did you go to the polls already? Have you been to the polls? Are you going to the polls? What's going on? In a few other races that I want to mention this morning on the ballot, I certainly hope that Jim Risch retains his Senate seat, the United States Senate seat, over Paulette Jordan. I know there's a couple others, but she's the primary challenger, and she is not qualified by any stretch of the imagination. She ran for governor, and we found a lot of holes in her screen door, and now she's trying to upset Jim Risch as senator. She's not qualified, no matter how you look at it. I know a lot of people are wondering what I'm going to say about Congressman Mike Simpson running again. He's got somewhat competition, but none of which is going to dethrone him. Mike Simpson will and should retain his congressional seat. And to more of the people, especially in this area, I'm going to move on over to Legislative District 24 for the state Senate. Now, a lot of people are going to be surprised at what I say here. Lee Hyder has been on this program, and he's been an advertiser for his run at the state Senate in the past, not this year. And he's being challenged by Rocky Fahrenberg, who is an independent. I've talked to Rocky, and this young man has got a lot on the ball. And to be honest with you, I think some of his ideas are absolutely necessary, and I'd like to see some younger blood, if you will, get involved in our state Senate. And I'm on my wish list going to put Rocky Fahrenberg down as the hopeful winner in that legislative district 24. Moving over to another 24 issue, legislative district 24, Representative A, it's Lance Clow against Paul Thompson. Now, I've had Paul on my program many, many times, and he does an outstanding job. He is very well qualified, knows the issues, and in regards to Lance Clow, a couple of personal things, Lance seems to be a little aloof and a little bit above some people sometimes and doesn't follow through, and I certainly hope Paul Thompson wins that race in District 24, Seat A. Legislative District 26, State Senate. I would love to see Eric Parker win over Michelle Stennett. And I think, again, a little bit of young blood, new blood coming into the Senate, not a bad thing at all. Your thoughts, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a jingle. Your turn. By the way, you're going to hear a lot of this over the next couple of weeks. Your home is the one place where everything should be perfect, including your air. Ramsey, I'm going to choke to death here. Ramsey Heating and Electric helps you achieve the perfect air you deserve with reliable, groundbreaking, award-winning Lennox products. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today and see how you can get a Lennox home comfort system that'll help improve your health and your mood. It doesn't get any more perfect than that. Call them today at 678-0459 or visit ramseysonline.com. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. All right, your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The perfect showing of how repulsive and left the left is and is threatening to be, there already has been violence and rioting in the form of, if they don't get their way, they're going to destroy, hurt, or burn, or loot. People have started already yesterday to board up their businesses and paint signs. This is a sign of cowardice, I think. Paint signs on their building, "Oh, we support Black Lives Matter." So there again, if they say they support Black Lives Matter, and they're worried about Black Lives Matter individuals coming down and raiding and rioting and looting and burning their business, they're just trying to mollycoddle up to them and say, well, we support Black Lives Matter in hopes that the Black Lives Matter will leave them alone. And the loons on the left are vandalizing property with slogans that they leave behind like "election no" Exclamation point. Revolution, yes! Exclamation point. This is really serious and very, very scary. What are your thoughts about the election tomorrow and days after until we get a final vote tabulation? Please give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And then fueling more fire to the flames are the likes of Joe Scarborough and his bleach blonde wife, Mika Brzezinski, saying that if Trump comes out tonight and declares victory, he, Joe Scarborough of MSNBC, will, and this is the part that really amazes me, he's got this kind of power, he'll tell the network to block the feed of Trump declaring victory. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I think those of us that are Christians are knowledgeable enough and understanding the situation enough to realize that socialism and communism are literally knocking at our door with this election. I mean, when you see the likes and hear the opinions of people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, and Rashida Tlaib, along with Bernie Sanders, and they're all in a conglomerate in a little internet town hall meeting, per se, saying, well, we can lead Joe after he wins the election. We can lead him down a much further left trail. And these people that were aforementioned absolutely are proponents of turning our country into a complete socialistic state. Your thoughts? I'm surprised. I'm sure a lot of people are probably on the way to the polls, etc. But give me a call. And let's also pray for something else today. If, and again, heaven forbid, that Joe Biden wins this election, let's please hope and pray that the Republicans take a better control of the Senate, so that it would be some kind of a governing rod or body over Biden and Harris. If they do not keep the Senate, and the House and the Senate and the Oval Office all go to the likes of Bernie Sanders and the rest of the squad underneath Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we've got trouble in River City. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. You know, socialism is just a kind of word of saying communism. Do you agree?
Well, there are distinctions between the two, but I always say socialism/communism in most of the things I talk about because they're so intertwined and related.
Another thing I'm going to predict, that if the Republicans were lucky enough to win Minnesota, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel.
You know, Keith, Minnesota is important, but the caveat there is there has to be a powerhouse state for delegates, and that would be Pennsylvania. I think if Trump wins Pennsylvania, even though Pennsylvania is doing everything they can to mollycoddle and side up to Joe Biden as far as extending the vote count and everything else. But if Trump wins Pennsylvania, I think you can start raising the flag on the flagpole that Donald Trump is going to be reelected for 4 more years. I think that is a key state, and of course Florida being the other real key state. And I think, I honestly believe that Trump is going to carry Florida easily.
Well, the only reason I brought up Minnesota is because due to the Obama administration, they transplanted all of those Somalians in Minnesota.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is a problem. They should never do that. They should spread them throughout the country if that's what they're going to do.
Well, they have, but...
one place, 100,000 of them.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah, they have created their own in-city within a city and trouble within trouble that's getting bigger all the time. I could not agree with you more, and I would love to see, honestly, here's what I'd like to see. If not Minnesota, I'd like to see Trump take Wisconsin and Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Florida, and you can stand on your front lawn and just yell, scream, and holler all you want to, but Trump will be the president if that takes place.
You know, the thing that I've always been amazed at, we never hear anything about St. Paul, Minnesota.
Yeah, it's kind of a forgotten city. Yeah, it's kind of a forgotten city all unto itself. I used to go to school back there, went to college back there, and I was right on the edge of the river, literally, dividing St. Paul and Minneapolis. And it's a kind of a shame that St. Paul gets overlooked all the time, but I agree with you. Hey, I got to run. I got another call, Keith. Thank you so much.
See you. Bye.
All right. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
Happy Patriots Day, where all the patriots are going to get out and vote.
Amen.
And create a red tsunami.
Amen. I hope that the wave is very tall, very strong, and lasts for a whole long time.
Yes. And one thing to think about going to the polls, they've said Trump destroyed the economy.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Look at the first quarter. I think it was 3.1% GDP.
Yeah.
Second quarter, it dropped 30% minus. Okay, that puts us 27 in the hole. The third quarter was 33.1, which that brings us back up to a 3% GDP.
That's right.
The pandemic.
That's right.
For the year.
And explain something to me, if you would, Doug, please. I'm going to sit here and be like a sponge and absorb all your knowledge. How can they being the left, how can they honestly, with a straight face, get on the TV news or be interviewed on a radio or a newspaper story and point and blame the COVID-19 on Donald Trump? If you'll recall, at the very onset of COVID-19, doctors like Fauci and others were saying, well, you don't have to wear a mask. It's not that big a deal. Remember how the revolution had turned and changed as they were trying to study COVID-19? But yet Trump gets the entirety of the blame from the left as if he actually, and they have said this on occasion, killed over 200,000 people.
That's the left's tactics. Blame them for what you're doing. Had the Democrats been in charge, had Joe Biden and Obama been in charge on this when this pandemic hit, it would be devastating.
Yeah.
Because like they did with the H1N1, they did nothing. So here they're blaming, and now Biden's trying to say that President Trump should have stopped people coming from China earlier. He done it 5 days after the first case in the U.S.
Yes.
How much earlier can you do it?
And I don't have a lot of respect for someone that is on the verge of senility, sitting in a basement all day long, every day, and not going out and campaigning until the very end of the election cycle, like yesterday and today, and sitting there and saying what he would have done and how he would have done it better, because that's just purely speculation.
Exactly. And if he had a plan to end this corona, wouldn't he have been a better human being had he told people to save people now instead of waiting until he's inaugurated?
Yeah, the criticisms that have been heaped upon Trump, and I kind of touched on it yesterday. A lady called, and she said, she called me about a week ago, I don't like his attitude, I don't like his tone of voice, I don't like what he says, and I asked her, I said, but do you like what he gets done as far as the United States? Well, yeah, he's done a pretty good job there. And I said, well, then, are you going to vote because you don't like his style, or are you going to vote because of results? That's the problem with voters today. Sometimes they think, well, I don't like him. I think he's arrogant. But do you like what he's done as far as help the American economy? Oh, yeah, he's done a good job there. Well, then vote for him, for heaven's sakes.
Well, that's what happens when everybody gets a trophy and nobody gets their feelings and has to deal with it.
Yeah, I couldn't care less if the man says things that maybe shouldn't be said. I couldn't care less if he tweets something that shouldn't be tweeted. I couldn't care less if somebody is offended by whatever happens when he's up at a podium. But if he's getting results for our Constitution and our American values and our businesses, I really don't vote for style. I vote for results.
Well, that's what you get when you don't have a politician in there, when you've got a businessman that knows how to get things done, knows how to fight for what he wants, and knows how to walk away from a deal to make the other people think, whoa, wait a minute, I better talk to him some more, and concede.
You got that right.
He's transparent. You show me a president that has answered as many questions as he has answered every time he goes out to get on that helicopter, every time he gets off the helicopter. There's very seldom he walks by the press pool without taking some questions.
Oh, you're not being fair at all, for heaven's sake. Come on, Doug. Biden answers questions, too. What flavor ice cream have you got? Well, I've got chocolate.
I know. Yep, exactly. And the left, they're just beside themselves because everything they've thrown at President Trump would have taken any other politician or human being down.
I agree. I got to run. I'm late. If you look at your watch, I got to get the weather on.
Yep. Anyway, and I know that God has got a plan with President Trump because he has shielded him from all of this evil that's going on. So everybody, let's do what we can for our senior centers. Let's support them, donate to them, go volunteer, and whatever you do, go there and eat and leave with a full tummy and a full heart.
There you go, buddy. Thank you very, very much, Doug. Appreciate your call. Calls welcome. Right now, I got to get the weather on real quick. Oh, if you're missing parts of a conversation, or if you're just nodding your head or laughing, but you really haven't got a clue what was said, you might have a problem with your hearing. And I urge you to call Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids and let them provide for you a hearing screening. And then they can help your hearing. Absolutely. 312-0957, the number to call. 312-0957. You call for a hearing screening today at Mount Harrison Audiology. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
We are expecting a beautiful day for today as we are making our way through this work week. Sunny skies is what we're looking at. High of about 69, winds out of the east-northeast at about 5 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly clear and calm, low of 35. Tomorrow, it's going to be beautiful. Sunny skies, high of 69 with an overnight low of 36 by Thursday. Sunny and 71 Friday, slight chance of rain showers, partly sunny and 59. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Rain.
Right behind the Minidoka County Hospital, across from the emergency room, our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they can help you restore a lot of your hearing problems. Absolutely. 312-0957. Call them today for an appointment. Mount Harrison Audiology. Oh, by the way, too, I'll take some more calls. I want to remind everybody about Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. Oh, they've got 3 locations serving you at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location. Don't forget, they've got all the Bobcats, all the shapes and sizes, all the trenchers, all the scissor lifts. They've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators. You go, yeah, I need them, but I don't know how to run them. Well, that's not a problem. They got a big old sandbox out behind the business, and they will teach you how to run the equipment. Absolutely. You get a hold of them today. Don't forget, super financing rates to buy and great lease programs. Barry Equipment and Rental in Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. All right, your turn. Give us a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The left the drive. I mean, they are like rabid dogs, and they want to control our lives 24/7, 365. I mean, my goodness. Some of the comments that were made yesterday, why we just have to win, why we've got to control the American people. We're going into a dark winter, and we know more than anybody does. Really? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I'll tell you what, Zeb, I think today is going to be a history-making day. The amount of people that are going to show up to vote, we know for a fact that the enthusiasm, and there's no question about it, is on Donald Trump's side. We would like to believe that as truth and right. And so we say that truth and right will win out, but only if the people exercise their free will and go out and take responsibility for their behavior.
Amen.
And so I know this, when there's 57,000 people at a Trump rally in Butler County, Pennsylvania, this is unique stuff. And never in the history of America has any of this stuff happened.
You know,
I've got to believe the early voting, the enthusiasm, the people know that there is no way we could elect the communists, the environmentalists, the baby killers. And so I feel very strongly about it, but you can never take anything for granted. You never count your chickens before they hatch. And I think today is good. I think the voting lines are going to be so massive. And one more quick thing, I know I've went on quite a bit here. The black leadership, that may be rappers. That just may be who it is.
Yeah.
But they're all, at this point, they're going for Trump, and they're letting their people know. Now, I don't know if I said this yesterday or not, but Lil Wayne, who is endorsing Trump, he's a little black rapper.
Yeah, you said that yesterday.
Has 30 million followers.
Yep, that's right. I agree with you, and I'm certainly hoping, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow's program. I'm either going to have egg on my face or I'm going to have a smile on my face. Either or, I've got the backbone to come on the program and talk about it, much not to say about somebody else that doesn't want to talk to me. I'm going to be here on the program if I'm right or wrong in my choices or my predictions, but I think you're 100% right. Randy, I got another call. I got to run. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Caller, quickly, I've got 1 minute left, and then I got to do a break. Thank you.
Yes, I got a weather prediction. It's going to be a cold winter, and you know why? Yesterday I was at Walmart, and I seen Doug Martin there in his long pants. So look out, here it comes.
Oh, I'll tell you what, Doug is tougher than most of us, and he wears those shorts in ice cube and icicle weather, but I think he's changed and transitioned to the longer version. Doug, I appreciate it, Keith. Thank you very much. Gotta go. Caller, stand by. I might have some time right after this good word. I got to remind everybody about our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, and serving is the key word. The best of tires, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, the best of brake service with highly trained brake technicians. Of course, you know they've got all the tires, all the tread designs, all the sizes. This is tire changing season, because we're going to be seeing some changes in the weather. You can bet on it. So be ready, be prepared. Stop in and see James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, that's not brag, that's a fact. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, exactly 30 seconds, fast, go.
Well, Zeb, this election, and I think Trump will win, may not be tonight, but we've really rooted out who the enemies of this country really are. I mean, they've really come out of the woodwork if we didn't know some of these people. But the Marxist communists have been trying to destroy this country for 100 years. Now they're out of the woodwork, and so we can identify them and take action accordingly. Get out and vote, and pray that our constitutional republic
Amen. Great job. Thanks, Adrian. Got to run to the news. Thank you very much. And with that, we are going to go to the news. We want to remind you to go vote, go vote, go vote. And I'm looking forward to the final outcome as of tomorrow morning on the program. Should be really interesting. Coming up next hour, Dan Kish and also Dan Ferris. We've got some interesting home run hitters coming up this next hour. Don't you miss it. Zeb at the Ranch, and right now we're going to send it back over to Sean. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Don't you go away. Oh my, here we go on Voting Day, USA 2020. Go out to the polls and vote, please. Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires and the best in service. Don't forget to Burley for... I bit my tongue. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Woo! Hey, listen, right now, let's have this good word while I recuperate for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at the Georgia Soul. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand. Always at Georgia Soul. Western Waste Services.
Call today and get on the route service, and they'll come by once a week, pick up your garbage. It's gone. It's out of there. They are always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Once again, that number, 734-6969. The very best serving you, Western Waste Services. Really super good people. Want to remind you, too, about our friends over at Hanson Mortuary. Hello, Joel Heward, family and staff, always serving you and your family. And they have very, very flexible hours, and believe me, they are there to serve the families and provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort. And always, always the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. When there's the passing of a loved one, please remember they are there to help and serve you. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-5636. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. In just a moment, we're going to have one of my absolute favorite people on the air with us, and that's Dan Kish. But first and foremost, I want to remind everybody on this election day, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, and the number to call, 678-1191. There, I've given you all the particulars. You're recuperating from a surgery or maybe an accident, whatever the case might be, let them help you get back to being you. Nick Greenwell heads up all the great physical therapists at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Remember to call and make an appointment. 678-1191. They're located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Well, here it is. Finally, Election Day, USA, and with us is a gentleman that absolutely knows what's going on in the world of energy with the American Energy Alliance, my buddy, Dan Kish. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. Happy Election Day.
Well, thank you. I can barely hear you, but I think we've got a different phone this morning, so we'll do the best we can.
Okay, my friend, my apologies. I'm mobile today, so moving around.
All right, not a problem, Dan. And listen, Sean, we got a little bit of feedback. If you can help me ride the gain on that, I was reading some stories the last couple of days about small town America. People with maybe towns of 5 or 6 or 8,000 people, and they're absolutely wondering what's going to happen to them if all of a sudden the AOCs of the world and the Ilhan Omars and the, of course, Bidens and Harris's take over the leadership. They're going to stop the coal, they're going to stop the fracking, they're going to stop anything with fossil fuels, and these people are on the verge of losing everything in their lives.
Yeah, Zeb. I mean, if things go right for that crowd in this election today, and they are able to carry out their plans, the idea of living in a small town where people know their neighbors and look out for each other and that sort of thing basically is gone, because they starve these places out because the transportation of the things that they make with their, with their God-given hands and that come from the ground and all the rest, will be able to be transported in any efficient way. And they basically, I mean, let's face it, this has almost become an urban versus rural fight in America nowadays when it comes to politics. It's the leave us alone compared to what can you do for us approach to government, and that's what they embrace. And energy is the quickest way to do it because it makes our lives possible. And without that, it's back to wagon wheels, and you'd be doing commercials for wagon wheel sales.
Dan, it goes without saying that there's also a lot of problems in the Biden-Harris ticket to where Harris has come out and tried to sue people involved in fracking, and yet old consistent Joe, and we've lost our connection again.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get him on the air.
Okay, 1 second.
Once again, with the wonders of some of our equipment, I was cut off the air again this morning, and I apologize to my dear friend Dan Kish. Dan, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, we got cut off for some reason. I just wanted to mention to...
Maybe a windmill went down or something.
Yeah, it must have been something with the new green energy, I'm sure. I want to talk to you a little bit about Biden's lying. He came right out, and I've got 6 or 7 stories right here on my desk where he, during the last couple of months leading up to today, Election Day, has come out and absolutely emphatically said that he was going to stop fracking, said that he was going to get away from fossil fuels and not have anything to do with fossil fuel industry and cut off all the subsidies, absolutely turn his back on them to go with green energy. I hope the American public remembers that when they go to the polls today.
Well, I hope so too, Zeb. I mean, this has been crazy. I mean, basically what you've got is him saying one thing in order to get the votes to become the Democratic nominee, and then later saying something different in order to, because they all of a sudden realize that, holy cow, millions of people make their living off of this energy, American-made energy, because it's made right here, as opposed to importing, Chinese solar panels and windmills, stuff like that, and so, I mean, it's pretty evident to everybody that he's been lying. He's just been lying through his teeth. But that's what politicians do, Zeb. They always tell you what you want to hear, right? And that's the difference. Frankly, I feel a little out of my skis, front of my skis here, but it's election day, so I'm going to do it anyway. That's the difference with Trump. Trump gets out there fair. It's about time some of our allies started pulling their weight. Across the board, he's saying things that just haven't been able to be said in Washington, D.C., and that's why they hate him so much, Seth.
That's right. That's right. You know, I want to talk a little bit, and we have mentioned this subject between you and I in the past, but I think on this election day, I want you to amplify our thoughts one more time. When you start talking about someone like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that doesn't know Khmer from Sikkim, all she knows how to do is mix a whiskey sour at a bar, and now she's a congresswoman and may end up as the Secretary of Energy if Biden does, God help us all, win. This is so scary to me, I can't even imagine the net result.
Well, Seth, I mean, it's literally crazy. 80% of our energy in the United States, 80% comes from fossil fuels. You know, you throw in dams and nuclear power, and it's up to about. We only get 4% of our energy from wind and solar. 4%, less than 4% of our total energy. Electricity is more than that, but they want to electrify everything. They want to electrify our cars. They want to ban using gas for heat. They want to stop using oil for everything. So they want to go to all electricity. And right now, the numbers are that between wind and solar, less than 4%. And that is their answer to everything. That we're somehow going to move this country in a few short years from less than 4% of our energy to 100% of our energy. It is crazy. And if we had a media in this country that wasn't, sucking up to these guys, they would be pointing that out. But unfortunately, we don't.
You're 100% right, my friend. We have a caller with a question. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Quick comment. Don't forget that purses and makeup and medication and car tires and et cetera, and et cetera, and et cetera is made from petroleum.
That's right. Expand on that a little bit, Dan, because there's so many other byproducts that are necessary to be made and manufactured thanks to fossil fuels.
Sam, your caller, as usual, your callers are spot on. They're common sense. They understand this stuff. The fact of the matter is, without petroleum in today's world, and without something to replace it, life just look around. Look on your desk. Look at your computer. Look at your phone. I mean, we're talking plastics. We're talking composite materials. We're talking the very roads that we drive on, the asphalt. Asphalt is bitumen. It's a petroleum product. Our roads. So I don't know what they're going to do about that. And of course, in order to make cement, if they happen to be cement or concrete roads, that consumes enormous amounts of energy, and I mean just off the scale amounts of energy, which is part of the reason why they use bitumen, because it uses less and is cheaper to both lay out and do. But everything, the medical, go into a hospital and try to look around and not see the plastics that are saving people's lives, the hypodermic needles, that are made not of glass, which of course would take a lot of energy to melt the sand in order to make, but instead they're made of plastic. The oxygen tubes, you name it, it's all made of products of petroleum, and they need to. And these folks just want to wish it away. I mean, it's a death wish. It's a death wish for a great nation, and it's a death wish for billions of Americans. Frankly, Zeb, and I'm getting again a little over my skis, but I just, for the life of me, that this would gain any mainstream substance as though it is a logical or reasonable approach to life is just absolutely absurd. They might as well be talking about fairies and riding on dragons to work.
You know, Dan, you're so good at explaining things, and I want to go back a little bit and talk about our electrical grid and the refurbishment of the grid. Now, the green energy, as you stated so succinctly a few moments ago, only provides about 4% of our energy and not very reliable at that. How in the world, in a span of a very few years, according to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Harris and Biden, how can the grid expand to be 96% more efficient with green energy in the span of just a very few years?
Yeah, well, I tell you, Zeb, it can't. I mean, the only way you can do it is by buying enormous amounts of products made in China. And I'm not just talking about the windmill parts and the solar panels, which they control 80% of the world's market on. We're talking about the switches in the inverters, things that change direct current to alternating current so that it can be consumed by consumers. All those things China has the world control over. They've been working on it for decades. I mean, you can watch it, and people are aware of it, and yet they've been letting it happen because nobody foresaw that any kind of crazy ideas like this would ever come around. But what they're doing is saying government policy will make it mandatory, and the only game in town is them. We're not going to build those factories in the United States with what? Wind power? Solar power? We can't do it. They're burning coal. They're burning half the world's coal, more than half the world's coal, 52%, to make all this stuff so that AOC and her friends back here can tell us all we've got to get off American energy. And they're laughing their way to the bank, and they're laughing their way to being number one in the world if we let them get away with it.
You know, that leads me to say something that's going to be taken as very revolutionary and against politics, etc., which it is. But, you know, I'm more in favor of having private companies say, hey, you don't like it? That's tough. We're going to go ahead and produce it anyway. Whatever happened to private industry just snubbing their nose at politicians and the idiocy that's spread by politicians and going ahead with private industry that's going to better fit the American public?
Well, I'll tell you, Zeb, what's happened is the government politicized energy. Because we were dependent on others for our energy, it justified the creation of the Energy Department back in the late 70s under Jimmy Carter. All of a sudden, companies don't make their own minds up anymore. Those decisions are made in Washington. You can do this, you can do that, you can do this, you can do that. The same thing. I mean, Congress literally changed the names of its committees in Congress, in both the House and Senate, to include energy so that they could pass bills micromanaging how your dishwasher works. And whether or not, so now you buy a new dishwasher, it takes 3 hours in order to finish the dishes. And in the old days, you used to have one that got it done in an hour. And this is the sort of nonsense that's been going on. But anytime you can convince people that there's a problem. So in essence, in politics, the business of government is government. It's just that simple. And so what do you try to do? You try to increase market share. You try to increase your penetration of the market. And so what do you do? If there are no problems, you say there is a problem. The problem for them is climate change. Therefore, we must have all of these responses to climate change. That's what's going on. That's the way it's always been down through history, whether it's, you're all going to die unless you give me all of your grain, or because of a comet that's coming, or climate change. That's the way it works.
Real quick, to recap what we've already talked about in the past, I want to bring it back to light again this morning, is I still am absolutely astounded when you start counting the acres of land that are necessary to feed the absolutely unending appetite of not only windmills, but solar panels, to the extent where it would provide, they say, 96% more to the grid. I don't think there'd be any private property left.
Well, there is a certain philosophy that doesn't like private property to begin with, Zeb. Karl Marx wrote about it, said that you have to do away with private property because everything has to be owned by the, by the collective, if you will. So politicians could get fat and rich and sit around and tell people how to live. I mean, there's no difference between this and an emperor or a king or something like that. That's what is so amazing to me, that I guess they don't teach history anymore, or classical history, and explain the way these governments were founded based upon, increasing government control of everything. And that's exactly what they want to do, which is why I'm always heartened when people out there in the real world show that they get it. And your callers and you and a whole lot of people around this great, vast, God-blessed country feel the same way. I just hope there's enough of them on this very, very important election day.
Amen. Dan, I want to wish you a very safe trip wherever you're headed. Drive carefully. You're such a great asset to this program, and we'll look forward to next Tuesday, and hopefully both of us will have smiles on our face next Tuesday. God bless you, my dear friend Dan Kish.
Let's plan on it, Zeb. Thank you so much, and God bless you and your audience and this nation, Zeb.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. I've got the utmost respect for him and thank him for being a part of our show. Dan Kish with the American Energy Alliance. Thank you very much. Want to remind you about Denny's Restaurant. Oh, boy. Good eating. Go in the door, sit down, pick up the menu, and go, wow, how am I supposed to make a decision with all these fantastic choices? Like I've said, I'm a breakfast nut. I love breakfast anytime, all the time, 24/7. Maybe you're a lunch person, or maybe a dinner person, or just desserts. They've got everything right there on the menu for you. And the nicest of people serving you at Denny's Restaurant. 611 North Overland in Burley, and at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. It's true. It's America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. You get a hold of them and stop in and see them today. Want to remind you, too, your home is the one place where everything should be perfect, including your air. Ramsey Heating and Electric helps you achieve the perfect air you deserve with reliable, groundbreaking, award-winning Lennox products. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric and see how soon you can get a Lennox home comfort system that'll improve your health and your mood. It doesn't get any more perfect than that. Call them today at 678-0459 or visit RamseysOnline.com. Conditions apply, and see dealer for the details. Absolutely. I want to remind you, too, about our friends over to Let's Ride. Oh, get your motor running. I'm telling you, they've got all the snow machines. Now, I know a lot of people have called me on my cell phone and said, hey, by the way, have you seen the weather forecast? We're going to be in the 70s this week. And I said, yeah, I know. But remember, all good things come to an end. And you should be ready to hit the hills on a snowmobile, because I think that angel dandruff is not that far away. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Number to call, 436-4771. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 2. All the snowmobiles, all the accessories, and don't forget, too, they've got a super service department to keep you running at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. Absolutely. One more good word, and with that, we're going to mention our dear friends. I got to get a hold of them today, as a matter of fact. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. With Todd and the rest of his staff, they are so good, so efficient, so helpful with all your life insurance needs, health insurance needs, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and more. They are very accessible and devoted to serving you. Call the number, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Let's go to the phone line right now, be that as it may, and visit with this next gentleman. And I'll tell you a little bit about this man, as a matter of fact. He has written a book, and also he is the editor of Extreme Value. Dan Ferris. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Great to be here.
Well, here we are on Election Day, Dan, and it's my pleasure to have you with us on the program. You know all about the stock market. I know limited about the stock market and its ups and downs and its weakness and its strengths. What do you think's going to happen after this election if Biden gets elected or if we see another 4 years of Donald Trump?
I think that the outcome is going to be really similar, actually. The big risk that people perceive with Biden is, higher taxes, maybe increased regulation, sort of undoing some of the benefits that we perceived from Trump. Over the long run, though, I don't think Trump really reduced regulation that much, and we've had higher taxes than this with a roaring stock market. So you have to keep that in mind. I think the stock market, as we sit here talking today, it seems almost relieved that the election is about to be over. And I think getting it over with is more important than anything. And I think the trade right now that appears to be on is reflation. Right? We're all betting that no matter who gets elected, we're going to pump the economy full of new money and other stimulus efforts. That's the big one, it looks like to me.
Well, Dan, I would arbitrate with you, not arbitrate with you, but I would at least throw in some points of interest that with the Biden-Harris campaign, and if they win the Oval Office, I would think that one big issue in particular is going to be a downfall of America because of the extremes, and that's their green energy program that they want to put into effect, which would not only cost trillions to implement, but it would also create a real unstable economy and a lot of unemployment.
I don't doubt that you are right to quite a degree. I think it'll take probably longer to get done, and they won't get as much done as they will promise. So the effect will take a while to arrive. But yeah, I hear you. Look, I'm no fan, actually, to tell you the truth, of either of these candidates. Certainly no fan of Biden and Harris. And they're what we can only call socialist policies, for lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. No fan of any of that. So I don't really argue with you, but I think it'll take longer than you might think.
Well, when you look at the energy, and again, I stick on this because it's very important to me and my business, etc. But Dan, when you look at energy in the stock market and you look at people going from possibly $2 to $6 a gallon with the potentiality of being weaned off of fossil fuels and having to expend a lot of money on buying electric vehicles, etc., the transportation grid with delivery services all over the United States, I see the stock market as going down in the basement and not being able to crawl out.
Well, it's funny because I've seen it that way for a couple of years now, only because these things tend to move in cycles, and this cycle is, the high is more expensive than it's ever been in history, including 1929, dot-com boom, anything. So I see that anyway. I see the market going sideways from these levels anyway over the next, just call it a decade, because that's how it's been historically, and I don't think this time is going to be any different. This time is different is always a mistake, right? So I think we agree, but for different reasons, yeah.
What about the value of our dollar? Dan, where is it on the world scale today?
Over time, it is absolutely uncontroversial to assert that the dollar will continue to lose its value. It will continue to be inflated away. And in fact, I don't even think it's very controversial to say that that process has accelerated due to the COVID response from the Fed and will continue to accelerate as fiscal and monetary policies sort of get together in Japan-like fashion to try to restart the economy and re-stimulate the economy. You know, you want gold, you want silver, you want maybe a little Bitcoin in there for good measure. And I absolutely think, you know, the dollar long-term is toast.
Regardless of who wins this election, Dan, I'd like you to elaborate a little bit on our money system here in this United States, to which it seems like it's so easy to turn on the printing press and come up with a bunch of money, whether it's billions or trillions, and keep giving it to various sources. Sooner or later, the piper has to be paid. What are your thoughts about the future, the way we're going with the inflationary money?
Well, the process works differently than most people think, so it takes longer to generate real inflation than most people think. Just printing the money doesn't do it. The money has to be lent and spent. All the Fed can do is print the money and then buy securities, and that puts reserves into the system. But if the reserve just sits there and they don't get lent and spent, we don't get the inflationary effect. So what I think you'll see is a fiscal policy that will step in and push to get that money lent and spent. And the guy I work for, Porter Stansberry, has suggested we might get something which I interpret as sort of like a Fannie and Freddie for corporate debt, where the government might back corporate debt, making it irresistible to lend and spend, for just one example of how they might get that done.
If you were, let me ask you this, Dan, if all of a sudden, hold on, caller, stay with us just a minute, I want to ask this question. Dan, if all of a sudden the new administration, not naming who it might be or may be, but if the new administration called you on the phone and they said they wanted you as the Secretary of Finance, Commerce, etc., what drastic changes would you make to make all of America a little bit more secure with our money system?
Well, you know, finance and commerce, they don't really touch the money system. What I would do if I were in finance and commerce is I would try to reduce regulation as much as possible. And I would try to make it really hard, especially for states to institute new regulations, because the local regulations are as just punishing and draconian as anything. When people have to pay $10,000 or $20,000 for a cosmetology license just so they can braid hair for their customers, it's absurd. It's a punishment, and it has to stop.
Absolutely.
We need it now.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a comment for you, Dan. Stand by. Caller, quickly, you're on. They hung up? Okay. As you look at the election, a lot of people are going to the polls today and making a selection between Biden, a gentleman that I don't think is going to be in office very long if he does win, and let's face it, I believe it's going to be an administration run by Kamala Harris and whomever. And if you look at Donald Trump, we're looking at an administration that I think, quite frankly, has done a lot for our economy and could do a lot more to pull us out of the COVID-19 doldrums. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are I absolutely do not want to see Kamala Harris in the White House at all, especially as president. I think that would be disastrous, an absolute disaster.
Absolutely.
And between Kamala and Trump, I would have to pick Trump.
Absolutely. We have a caller back on the air. Caller, good morning. Quickly, you're on the air. Please, go ahead.
Yes, I'm another caller, but I wondered if you had seen the size of the new dollar.
I guess I'm going to have to ask. Dan, have you seen the size of the new dollar?
No, I haven't. I haven't heard a thing about it.
Well, Jerry, what's your point?
But it's a token. token. It's meaningless. The size of it is
Jerry's not on the phone anymore.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Dan, please.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, it's a moot point. It doesn't matter. The dollar has been a meaningless token with no intrinsic value since at least 1971, arguably sooner than that. So it's kind of a non-issue.
Absolutely. Looking at the COVID relief bill, I got to get your opinion on this. This giving and providing money to exist and stay in existence with their business, etc., for another short period of time. What about another $500 billion that wasn't passed? What's the net result in your eyes? What should be done or not done?
What we have done is we have waged a war against making a living, and we need to stop it now. People whining, the only people here whining about 200,000 people dying are the people who don't know what happens with the flu every year.
Yes.
And it's ridiculous. It's a political ploy. It has nothing to do with reality. We have made a mistake. We have shut down the biggest economy in the world for no good reason. It's ridiculous. We need to cut this out.
In your opinion, Dan, we look at Europe and we look at the United Kingdom and other countries, Germany, France, etc., that are contemplating another complete, underline the word complete, shutdown or lockdown for a period of time. That's just basically, in my opinion, running away and hiding behind a tree to escape the inevitable. What would happen economically if we had another stupid lockdown in this country?
Well, it doesn't take a genius, does it? I mean, shutting down economic activity is the definition of recession. And I don't care what anybody says, there is no amount of government or fiscal or monetary top-down maneuvering or stimulus or anything that can replace real economic activity. You can't replace real economic value and real wealth with more money. Money is just a tool. It's not real economic activity, and that's what we need.
Tell us a little bit about your business as far as the editor of Extreme Value. What's a day in the life of Dan Ferris when he gets to his desk every day?
Get to my desk every day. I whether I like it or not, and I don't always like it, I have to find out what's going on in the world. So I scan, all the typical financial news sources, Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, etc. And I spend all my time doing three things. Looking for good businesses trading at reasonable prices in the stock market, preparing and just doing everything I need to do as the host of the Stansberry Investor Hour podcast at investorhour.com. And I write once a month to all the hundreds of thousands of Stansberry subscribers in our daily Stansberry Digest. So every day I do those three things.
Well, Dan, let me ask you, you have a finger or you can listen to the pulse beating of America, business, and the stock market. If you were to say, regardless of who wins this election, how stable this country will be economically and financially, what are your thoughts on a scale of 1 to 10? Where are we?
Long term, I don't think it matters who wins. Long term, we're on the slippery slope already. We're sliding down, and we're not going to come back without some kind of a crisis, without some kind of deeper, longer-lasting economic crisis. When it becomes obvious to many, many, many people, and it's becoming more obvious all the time, that the government cannot top-down replace real economic activity and is the main part of the problem, then maybe we'll get some real change and start moving in a better direction. Until then, I don't see any major difference between any of these candidates. None of them are going to shrink the government. No matter what you may think of Trump, he is not going to have a net positive effect on the economy or the government. It's too difficult. It's too impossible. The machine is too big, and the momentum is too strong.
Dan, I hope you'll consent to coming back on my program in the future. I've enjoyed our conversation. The editor of Extreme Value, Dan Ferris, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I'll be in touch and have you back soon.
Oh, sounds great, Jim. I'll Look forward to it.
All right, sir. Thank you very, very much. Dan Ferris, editor of Extreme Value, and talking about our money, our stock markets, and really where we're at regardless of this election. I appreciate that. We better get the weather forecast on, and then I've got some other good words. I would love you to call me and tell me what's been your response so far this morning. If you've gone to the polls and kind of tell us a little bit about what the attitude was at the polls, etc., I'd like to hear from you. So give me a call at 436-2244. The weather brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, and they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. I mean, they've been there and done that. Caller, wait till after the weather. Give me 60 seconds. Don't forget, too, they have the best in tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. They are the professionals with offices in Burley and Rupert, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
We are expecting a beautiful day for today as we are making our way through this work week. Sunny skies is what we're looking at. High of about 69, winds out of the east-northeast at about 5 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly clear and calm, low of 35. Tomorrow, it's going to be beautiful. Sunny skies, high of 69 with an overnight low of 36 by Thursday. Sunny and 71 Friday, slight chance of rain showers, partly sunny and 59. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebedee Rain.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you so much. And the weather, of course, brought to you this hour by the professionals, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with the best of accounting services to serve you, your family, and your business. Offices at 1710 Overland Avenue in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I went in just a while ago to check and see if my mail-in ballot had been counted, and it had. I had checked off in the primaries that I'd take it by mail, and I did that about a month ago. And then I mentioned on the show at least that long ago that I would stop in and check and see if it was counted. Now in Albion, people were backed up pretty solid there at the community center.
Mm-hmm.
So they're having a good show there.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think every area, now I haven't seen or heard any of the numbers here like in the smaller communities of Murtaugh, Hanson, Kimberly, etc., but of all the calls I have had during the news breaks and then also on the air, it sounds to me like Americans are exercising their right to vote, and they're doing so.
Yeah, this is a pretty big time in this country's history at this moment, Zeb.
Real quick, Earl, and then I've got to do a commercial break and take some more calls, but your thoughts about the election in general with the current administration, Donald Trump, versus Biden-Harris. What are your thoughts, real quick? Give us your thinking.
Well, I'm happy with what Trump's doing, trying to get our manufacturing back in this country, Zeb. And it should have never left here. In the past, we've become too spineless and dependent on handouts.
Amen.
And we've got to put the American population back to work.
I could not agree more. Earl, it's always good to hear from you up on top of the mountain. Thank you, sir. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
All my best. Bye.
All right, sir. Your calls are welcome. What have you noticed at the polls? I mean, what have people said to you? I mean, are they saying we're voting for so-and-so or we're voting against so-and-so? I mean, what are your thoughts? What have you heard so far this morning? Give me a call and let me know at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Want to remind you, too, about our friends while I'm waiting for your call at Patterson's Electric Electronics. I wished I had even a tenth of the knowledge they do about all the electronics products that they handle. I mean, whether it's the home theater systems or the complete sound systems or the car stereos and speakers, all the video surveillance cameras or all the different cables and power cords, etc. Oh, ho, 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 they know, let me tell you. And they are ready to serve you. Patterson's Electronics with Curtis and Lorena at 421 East Main in Burley. And they also, pardon me, have added to their long list of things at Patterson's, dehydrated food in stock. And boy, I'm telling you, you better get in there and check out all the great examples. They say special purchases of $300 or more, there'll be a discount, and with $600 or more, a special discount. So you be sure and check it out today. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. Your turn. Give me a call, please, at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There was a story that I was a little hesitant to get into this morning because of time constraints, and we do have a few minutes, and I just absolutely read this, and I can't believe this is America. That Governor Gavin Newsom in California has put together what's called guidance for private gatherings. And it mandates what you can and can't do for Thanksgiving. You can have no more than 3 households attend dinner outside and stay 6 feet apart. Now, of course, they don't say anything if the weather is bad. They don't say anything about how in the world are you going to stay 6 feet apart and sitting at tables and trying to pass food, the turkey, the salads, and everything else. But they, in their mandate, listen, this is America. The United States of America, the most free country ever on the face of the earth, and they're saying with this mandate from California, which honestly, and I know I'm going to get yelled at for this, but somebody needs to poke some of these politicians right in the nose because of their idiocy and incompetency. And they're saying attendees may briefly go inside to use the restroom if the facilities are frequently sanitized. We're talking about private homes here. And then they say families are permitted to host Thanksgiving dinner in outdoor spaces that are covered by umbrellas, canopies, and awnings. And it goes on in this mandate. This is California. It goes on in this mandate and says no more than 3 households are permitted, including hosts and guests. Are you kidding me? Families are required to social distance, including arranging seating at least 6 feet apart. And no passing, honest to goodness, you can't make this garbage up. No passing of mashed potatoes, cranberry salad, or turkey on a platter is allowed this year, as food cannot be served communal style. Please call me on this and let me know. I've never heard anything like this in my life. And then in this mandate that was written called the Guidance for Private Gatherings in California, families and attendees should wear masks, and they must place the mask back in proper place after they take every bite. If you think I'm making this up, I am not. A lady by the name of Bethany Blankley wrote this story called California Thanksgiving Mandate. This is absolutely insane. Face coverings must be worn and removed only briefly to eat or drink. And the mandate also discourages singing, chanting, shouting, and exercising, the playing of music and wind instruments, or any instruments that touch a musician's mouth. I never...
Sounds like California.
Sean, I am so absolutely astounded that Governor Gavin Newsom and the rest of those idiots in California would even think about something like this and then turn it into a form of a mandate for Thanksgiving. It's just beyond the pale what they'll try to do for Christmas. We have a call. We'll take that call quickly. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
It's me again, Zeb, and I really shouldn't say this, but does it say something about individual rolls of toilet paper for the individual showing up to Thanksgiving?
Earl, no, and I don't even want to go there.
I mean, everything that you said is essentially in the same ballpark.
I agree. Thank you, Earl. I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. Oh, I tell you what, as American citizens, when are we going to stand up on our hind legs and start swinging? This is enough. Beyond the pale enough. Caller, quickly. I've got about 45 seconds. Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to call and remind everyone, do your patriotic duty, get out there and go vote. Preferably for Trump.
Attaboy, Rodney. Appreciate that. Thank you much.
Yeah, catch you later.
I like that. Hey, don't forget your home is the one place where everything should be perfect, including your air. Ramsey Heating and Electric helps you achieve the perfect air you deserve with reliable, groundbreaking, award-winning Lennox products. I don't know why I have trouble saying that. Ramsey Heating and Electric. See how you can get a Lennox home comfort system that'll improve your health and your mood. It doesn't get any more perfect than that, so please call Ramsey's at 678-0459 or visit ramseysonline.com. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. This story is not going to go away. I'm not going to let it go away. I'm, over the next couple of days, going to call some friends of mine down in California and warn them before they come on the air to watch their language in regards to Governor Gavin Newsom and these idiots in Sacramento. Caller, I'll take your call real fast before I go to the news. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Zeb. Thank you for taking my call. This is Shelley. That governor in California, he either needs to be shot or impeached. And my question, are we allowed even to breathe?
Well, never, ever come on with any violent statements. I agree with your statement there, but let's not talk about any shooting or mayhem to anybody. We've already seen way too much of that in this country as it is. Thank you for your call. I've got to run to the news next from Fox. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Thank you. Oh, we're sitting here absolutely white-knuckled and absolutely gnashing our teeth over the idiocy of California and the don't get together on Thanksgiving mandate. My goodness, what is this world coming to? Deep breath, Zeb. Anyhow, good morning and welcome back to hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires and, of course, service. And don't forget, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Want to remind you, too, about a great big harvest sale. Where's it at? Well, I'm going to tell you, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Listen to this. All furniture, mattresses, dining room sets, and bedroom groups and more, 40% off. And then this will knock you over. Simmons Beauty Rest mattresses, 50% off. Wow. You better start the truck right now. Head for town and go to see Jeff and the rest of the crew at 459 Overland in Burley. The best quality, best service, best prices at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. I have got such a gobbledygook log of different things that have to be done on the air this morning. I got to make sure I got everything covered. Okay, I'm good there. Okay, we don't have to do that. We're going to go right now to my dear friend, and we were sitting here talking during the news, and it's so good to have him back here on Tuesday with another great story from our historical West.
Good morning.
Here's Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. Yes, I do have another great story.
Okay.
And this also comes, well, let me just say, first of all, hi to Kimberly. Kimberly wrote to me this week, and she asked if I would mention where I get some of the stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told her I've got about 50 or 60 copies of the old True West and Frontier Times magazines clear back in the 60s and 70s.
Which leads me to a question that I had called in, and I forgot to mention this to you. Thank you to Kimberly for asking you that question. How do you go about validating all these stories? Do you have some kind of a little scrutiny that you go through?
You know, I try, sometimes I'll go to the internet to say, okay, did this really happen, or how did it happen? So I try to be as accurate as I can and check out as much as I can.
But there again, history is how one perceived it at the time.
Exactly. It can be a little muddled.
Yeah, you're not kidding. What do we got this morning?
So, Kimberly, today I'm going to take this story from the same book I took last week from Ray Bagby. It's called Throw Down the Box.
Oh, I love that book.
And so, just to kind of recap, we're going to do a continuation of last week, is what we're going to do. So, just to recap, we're going to go back about 200 years, and you may wonder what were the very first of the first wagons and stuff to come west, to start the migration west. So, just to recap, last week I mentioned in 1827, William Ashley took the first wheeled vehicle west of the Missouri. Then in 1829, William Sublett took a wagon west. Then in 1836, the Reverend Marcus Whitman and Reverend Henry Spalding, they headed west. Then we moved to 1841, and this was the John Bidwell and John Bartleson company that headed west. So, and then we can't forget, let's see, where are they? The Donner Party, yes.
Yeah.
And,
what year? That was 1849, wasn't it?
I'm trying to see that.
I think it
here.
was. Yeah.
The Donner Party, 1846.
46.
Yeah, that was the Donner Party. So they were, you know what happened to them, and they were, obviously, they lost about half their people
Ken, let me
going over the Donner Pass.
Let me ask you a question here real quick. When they made the decisions, these various expeditions to go west, and let's say they had the wagons and the horses and the oxen, etc., I mean, what was their main intent? Was to start building cities, growing cities, or get private property? I mean, did they all go as a group to start a small community, or what?
I think their goal was the thought of free land out in the West, that they could find a place next to a nice stream or a river and start a town, or it was about that time that the gold rush started too.
California.
But before then, it was the thoughts of free land and beautiful place to settle, to raise your family. Yeah. So that's kind of where we are right now. So then we start in 1847. Let's go back to there. Now, it was the great, actually, Mormon migration a year after the Donner tragedy that kind of turned the trail west into a real highway. That's when it really took off. The first wagons under Brigham Young followed the Donner Trail over Big Mountain into the Salt Lake Valley in July of 1847. Now, those first Mormon wagons would soon be followed by thousands of Conestogas, buckboards, buggies, white-topped surreys, and carts. If you can imagine any kind of shape, kind, description of vehicle to carry your goods and maybe even carry them on your back to walk.
I was going to say the elements of the rain, the cold, the snow, etc. Where did they go to protect themselves?
Yeah. Well, and sometimes they didn't. There are stories of windstorms coming up that just completely tore apart wagon, the covers, the canvas, and destroying some of their stuff. I mean, it was tough going. But, almost in a day, the old trail was worn deep, and Salt Lake City became the crossroads of the West. Mm-hmm. And there were trails of every kind that led off to new mining discoveries and settlement sites. And it was the only place between Missouri and the Pacific where settlers, explorers, miners, adventurers, anybody could get new supplies.
Every week for the last 3 weeks, your phone has gone off.
I'm going to leave it out in the pickup next week. Okay, so that was the only place you could get stuff, and if you had tired animals, you could trade for fresh livestock.
Where did the stores or the general surplus stores, etc., where did they get their goods and services?
I'm only going to assume that there were some of these people that had stores, they would bring that west as far as Salt Lake and for the merchants.
I was going to say, did they do any shipping into the California coast and then bring it over or not?
I don't know that for sure. I don't know that.
I see.
That they could have. But anyway, with the thriving city and a growing population located near the midpoint of the Oregon Trail, the need for a mail service and transportation quickly kind of became a priority. And both services lagged behind until an earth-shaking event occurred at a place called Sutter's Mill in California. 24th of January, 1848. James Marshall discovered gold in this mill race. Well, of course, the news spread like wildfire, and it didn't reach the eastern states until late in the season, so it was tough for them to head west that early. But the first signs of spring in 1849, thousands and thousands of these anxious, and they call them Argonauts.
Really?
Yeah, they call them Argonauts that wanted to head out to the gold fields.
Huh.
And I've heard that term a number of times, and I'm not sure where that started. But anyway, they were all hoping to cross the mountains to hit the El Dorado, the big gold rush, the big strike, So anyway, as I mentioned, every possible kind of transportation was represented. Men on horseback or ride mules, some driving fast buckboards or light spring wagons, and a lot of them organized into wagon trains, and countless others on foot, packs on their backs, and some who had no real idea of even where California was. They just knew it was out there somewhere. So they tried to push their worldly possessions across the plains, actually, get this, in wheelbarrows sometimes. So can you imagine pushing a wheelbarrow?
Do you want to know what Argonaut is in the dictionary?
What does it say?
Any of those who sailed with Jason to find the golden fleece.
That's the only place I've heard of Argonaut.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what they refer to them.
I'll be darned.
Anyway.
Well, they were looking for gold.
Yeah, they were. Well, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So again, by midsummer, Salt Lake City was overwhelmed by hordes of gold seekers, all looking for the shortest and the fastest way to the gold fields. The value of fresh horses was at a premium.
Oh, my.
While staple goods like flour and coffee commanded the highest possible price. Pack mules worth no more than $30 back in Missouri sold for $200 in Salt Lake City.
Oh, my.
Parties of, well, you can imagine the gold fever.
Yeah.
They were going to pay anything to get there. So parties of miners having 3 or 4 heavy Conestoga-type wagons were anxious to trade all of them for a single, lightweight, and they call it an ambulance or a white-top buggy. So just a small wagon. They just wanted something that was going to be fast to get them there. So now a correspondent for
and they didn't have anything as far as clothing or extra clothing, chests or anything like that?
Probably not much of anything. Wow. No, as far as that goes, yeah. But a correspondent for the New York Tribune wrote that there were no signs on shops or business houses in Salt Lake. Quote, they needed no sign, nor had they time to build one. They were so crowded with business.
In Salt Lake City?
Yeah, so thousands of people coming through.
Let me ask you, what part of Salt Lake City, the town, actually was the hub of all this activity? I mean, like today, can you go and see?
I don't think so. I think that's all pretty much. I mean, there's that Pioneer Museum and some things like that. Like This Is the Place monument. There's some old cabins that they've moved into there. But I'm just going to assume it had to be right downtown around what they call Temple Square.
I see.
I just would think it'd be within a few miles around that.
Okay.
But like I say, many of the travelers had planned to receive or send mail, but there was no post office in Salt Lake City, nor any kind of mail service. Now, I have heard that as you came across, sometimes people would find a buffalo skull, and they would actually write a little message on a buffalo skull for people coming along behind, say, hey, this is the so-and-so party. We were here on May 2nd,
really?
Or something like that. Yeah, so there was some... I guess, if you want to call that mail. But anyway, there were countless, a lot of others who needed transportation, and those whose livestock had played out, and there were others that were too old or weak to continue on foot. as well as merchants and others who could afford to pay their way, but there was no transportation to be had sometimes. They just were stuck.
I can't even imagine the people, how tough they were, knowing that every single day they got up from their breakfast, limited as it is, and knew they had to walk about 30 miles that day.
You just get there,
Holy smokes.
But anyway, that condition couldn't last forever because where there was money to be made, carrying mail and express, someone would seize the opportunity, and where transportation was needed, someone would find a way to take a stagecoach west. In other words, the old saying, Zeb, mind the miners. Instead of going after the gold, let's
so they had stage lines that would leave Salt Lake and head west.
Eventually, yeah. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but, actually quite a bit. The first western stage line was established in California, and the gold rush of 1849 quickly demanded means of transportation faster and safer than what they refer to as Shanks Mayer. You know what that means?
No.
Walking. Shanks Mayer.
Really?
Yeah. So, and that's how they went between the growing number of gold camps in the Sierras. And before the first stage lines were organized, the miners had to walk from San Francisco to the new discoveries being made in the mountains.
Did they wear, I know this is a dumb question, but their footwear had to be extremely tough.
And there again, why not mind the miners? Be a bootmaker. And you could charge whatever you wanted.
Wow.
Right? So, few owned or could afford horses, so they were forced to take what they jokingly called also, quote, the foot and walker line.
Foot and walker.
In other words, walk.
Yeah.
So, it's their name for being sore-footed to get to the diggings. And for those who had already struck it rich, there was then the problem of getting their gold dust and nuggets safely to the banks of San Francisco.
That was my question. I was just going to hit, where did they go with the gold dust?
And that was across several hundred miles of wilderness where, you had cutthroats and robbers, and anyway, people were laying to rob you.
Was it worth the effort?
You'd have to ask them that. For those that made it and those that didn't. There was a guy named John Huisman, and he may have been the very first to offer a stagecoach service in California, and it may have kind of taxed your passenger humor to call it a service, because in 1849 he was running a coach, and I use that term loosely, of sorts, between San Francisco and San Jose. And you camped wherever it got dark, but still charging his passengers 2 ounces of gold dust. Now, James E. Birch, an early 49er from Rhode Island, was one of the first to start a stage line in California, and he was prominent in the Pacific Coast and the Southwest, staging for a lot of years afterwards. He arrived with, sorry, I got to have a drink.
Okay, it's water, folks. It's all water, I promise.
It's all water. Okay. So, he arrived with the first gold seekers when he was 21 years old, but he quickly realized that he could make his fortune faster by transporting miners to the diggings than he could by digging for gold himself. Again, what I've said, mining the miners. So, starting with an old ranch wagon with a wooden plank across its bed for a seat, he began charging miners 2 ounces of dust, which was then about $32, to haul them and their baggage into the mountains. He got several more wagons and soon began a regular service between Sacramento and the American River. And only a few months later, he extended his service to a place called Marysville and Stockton with he didn't have any competition. So he was soon demanding $200 fare.
Per person?
Yes. And he was so busy that he had to purchase more wagons and hire extra drivers. $200 per person, and how many could you get in a wagon?
Oh, I don't know.
6, 8?
6, 8, I don't know.
Yeah. So,
I mean, you're talking, if it's $1,600.
Yeah.
And how many wagons did he have on
he just added more wagons and drivers.
Why don't you and I get in that business?
I don't know. Go find a wagon, I guess. Anyway, so seeing Birch's success at staging, crude though it was, others decided to try it, and within a year, miners could choose between Birch's line or those of a guy named John Huisman or Warren Hall and Jared Crandall, Ackley and Morrison, Crandall and Sutherland, Phineas Banning and D.W. Alexander, or Brady and Company. So you see a whole bunch of others jumped on the wagon, so to speak.
So to speak.
Yes, and so they bought a dozen 14-passenger mud wagons across the plains, and they were not the Concords. They were which were the finest of all coaches, but they were similar to the famed Abbott and Downing coach, which was, a pretty nice coach. Now, commonly called mud wagons, they were lighter in weight and designed for rough mountain trails or muddy, rutted roads, and many of these early mud wagons were actually the so-called celerity wagon, which was manufactured at Troy, New York. Okay, but just about any coach, not a Concord, was called a mud wagon, which meant it was a rugged coach, and it kind of traded appearance and comfort for the strength. And
did they pull those with oxen or horses?
I don't know that. I'm going to assume they used horses because at this point they wanted things to move fast.
I see.
I mean, the faster you could move your passengers, the more money. And of course, oxen were more steady, but probably a lot slower.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah, me and you. So the following year, here we are, June 1851. James Birch imported the first Concords brought to San Francisco aboard sailing ships on this long sea voyage around Cape Horn.
Holy smokes!
And Zeb, I have heard a lot of stories
about
Cape Horn.
That's a long voyage.
The storms, the winter. I can't imagine any time going around the Cape down there. But anyway, during the next decade, hundreds of Concords would be shipped to California around by sea, on the ocean. So in 1851, Frank Stevens' Pioneer Line was in business between Sacramento and a place called Hangtown. It was the first of many lines operated under the name Pioneer. Now, in May of 1851, Hall and Crandall were awarded the first government mail contract on the Pacific coast. They agreed to carry the U.S. mail between San Francisco and San Jose for $1,600 a year.
A year?
Yeah, and I'm not sure how far it is between San Francisco and San Jose, but it's not that far, I don't think.
No. I'm going to throw a number out, and I could be really wrong. It's been so long. I'm going to say... I want to say 95 or 100 miles right in that area.
That's kind of what I was thinking, maybe around 100. But $1,600. Anyway, James Birch and Frank Stevens were very ambitious, so it came as no surprise when on January 1st, 1854, they merged their two lines to form the California Stage Company.
Really?
And later, it was called the Stockton Overland Mail. Now, already controlling much of the stage business along the Pacific coast, Birch and Stevens consolidated nearly all the remaining lines. In other words, they bought up, all the smaller outfits. And by 1856, had nearly 200 coaches on the road. And most of them were the tough and dependable mud wagons that I mentioned.
Yeah.
But there was a few Concords were also in use along the better roads, and this was long before most other Western stage company used them, because before there were any decent roads, a Concord, I don't know if it'd even hold together on some of those really rough ones. But the California Stage Company served nearly every mining camp in the Gold Rush country, California, and before long they were running coaches across the Cascade Range into Oregon. In May of 1857, the Birch and Stevens line pushed its way across the Sierras to a place called Honey Lake on the eastern side of the Sierras, becoming the first company to enter the Great Basin. And within months, they extended their line to Bigler's Lake, which is actually Lake Tahoe.
Really?
And I've bragged about this before. I am related to that Bigler, by the way.
Are you really?
I am. His name was Henry Bigler.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
he actually was at Sutter's Mill when gold was discovered.
Oh, my.
He was one of the guys.
And he's your relative.
He's my relative.
Look, that's where you made all your money.
Yes, and he didn't make any money there. So anyway, it kept going. In 1843, that was kind of when things were probably at their height as far as...
What year was that again?
About 1843. And I see we're about out of time, but, we could go on and talk about the pioneer stage lines. I mean, staging between the Missouri and the Great Basin got off to a much slower start than it did in California because, it's just a lot of barren land. But postal authorities had established a mail service of sorts between Independence, Missouri, and Salt Lake City.
Wow.
But it was kind of a hit-and-miss thing, occasional venture with no regular service. Mail often arrived at Salt Lake City faster by going around by ship to California and then taking the mail to Salt Lake.
I have a quick question for you.
Okay.
And really, this is where I wish we had Ray Bagby on the air with us. What did they do if they broke an axle or broke a wheel or whatever on these stages out in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah. That is a great question, and I don't know the answer.
They didn't have a towing service back in those days.
I don't remember seeing any stagecoach with a spare tire.
Yeah, really.
But like
I don't either, now that you mention it.
But an axle could break, and I'm only going to assume that hopefully some of those people knew how to actually make a new axle, maybe. But that would be really, really tough.
I mean, yeah.
So I think in some cases they were.
We got to get Bagby on with us.
They were just plain stuck out there.
I've got to run, but we're late. But can you do more of this next week?
Sure. This book that Ray gave me has got a lot of.
What about the moving, if you will, of transportation of that type here to the state of Idaho? Do you have any stories about Idaho in there? From the gold and silver mines that we had.
Right, and later on, of course, then they started coming from Kelton, Utah to Boise. There was a stage line from Kelton to Boise.
Okay.
And can't remember the name of that one. It might have been the Overland, but I'm not sure.
I got to run.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is a fascinating historian, Dr. History, with us again. And I want to also thank, if I may, Dr. History, Ray Bagby, for the information books that he gave you.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent friend of ours. Don't forget, Redder Showcase is having a great big customer appreciation sale. When is it going to be? This Friday and Saturday, 8:30 to 6 on Friday, 9 to 5 on Saturday. And don't forget, they have got absolutely everything in the store on sale. Don't forget, they got floor model discounts up to 50% off. And washer and dryer sets starting at just $9.99. Dishwashers in stock starting at just $3.69. You better hurry. Don't forget this customer appreciation sale at Redder Showcase this Friday and Saturday at 2611 Overland in Burley. And right now, we're going to send it back over to Sean at our main studio.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Your home is the one place where everything should be perfect, including your air. Don't forget, Ramsey Heating and Electric helps you achieve the perfect air you deserve with reliable, groundbreaking, award-winning Lennox products. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric, and see how soon you can get a Lennox home comfort system that'll improve your health and your mood. I tell you what, call them today at 678-0459 or visit them online, ramseysonline.com. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. Our next gentleman on the air is absolutely a gentleman I'm looking forward to talking to because he does so much for our veterans. He's the Mini-Cassia Veteran Service Officer, and we say good morning to Chuck Driscoll. Chuck, how are you this morning?
I'm doing wonderful.
Well, it's good to have you on our program. You know, before we get too far into the grass here, what's a day in the life of you as a veteran service officer? What do you do for our soldiers and our military?
Well, I help them with paperwork to help them get the benefits to which they're entitled.
Okay.
That could be anything from pension to disability payments to with the advent of the new federal cemetery, the pre-need to be able to reserve a spot in the federal cemetery in Buell.
Okay, now, when you say all this, it sounds to me like it's worthy of just more than one man. It sounds like a really hard job to take care of everybody.
Well, it's a difficult job at times, but it's really rewarding because I get to work with my brothers, the vets. So, that makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, but Chuck, let me ask you this, and I've always been a friend of the military, always been a friend of our soldiers and our veterans. Aren't there other people that can help jump in and serve our vets? It seems to me like they come home and basically they're just handed down the line.
Well, it's up to the family and the neighbors as much as me. One of my big initiatives every year is the suicide prevention thing in September. And, we need our neighbors and our friends to watch their returning vets and make sure that they're not, self-isolating or getting themselves into a situation where they, don't think their lives are worthwhile. And so that's what neighbors and friends can do. They can watch for that and help them find the help they need.
Okay, I want you to elaborate a little bit, if you would, Chuck, and I'm not trying to sound morbid whatsoever, but what happens to some of our soldiers, some of our vets, male and female, when they come home from doing their service for our country? What are some of the triggers that would make them even consider suicide?
Well, the first one is loneliness. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today anyway, because we have 35 vets in nursing facilities in our 2 counties right now that haven't had visitors since March.
Oh, my.
They haven't had contact with people, and now they're, getting fairly lonely. And so one of the things that I'm trying to push today is for people to write letters. You don't need to know their names. You don't need to know anything about them. They just need to hear from you. There's, what are there? There's like 7 or 8 facilities in our 2-county area, and people need to write them a word of encouragement, send them a card for Veterans Day, send them a Christmas card or a Thanksgiving card, something to let them know that the public hasn't forgotten about them.
I want you...
do the same thing in your neighborhood with your friends and neighbors and people that live around you. Just let them know that they're cared about.
Absolutely.
That's an important thing.
Do they, as an entity, these soldiers, the 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever number you're talking about, do they not have any family members or any old buddies in this area? I mean, are they that alone?
Well, they have family members, but the family members can't come in and visit them in most of the facilities.
Oh, my. And
I have 5 or 6 that I used to go visit all the time, and I can't get in to see. So, this is a crisis, brought on by whatever you feel about the pandemic. It's brought on by the pandemic because they're trying to protect these people who are the most vulnerable among us.
I don't care if a person has to wear a hazmat suit or put a bubble of plastic around them and wear gloves and a mask. I think it's absolutely inhumane and cruel to separate families of members that are either like for surgery or some kind of sickness or disease, or our veterans. I mean, it goes a long way to see and be able to touch ones that you love.
Amen. I couldn't have said it better.
I'm livid about this. I just went through this personally with my wife in the hospital for almost 2 months, and I'll tell you what, I was about ready to take the pins out of the doors and tear the doors down. I mean, it's absolutely, to me, inhumane.
It is. I understand that we need to isolate because of the COVID virus, but there are other ways of isolating besides just keeping people away.
Well, you mentioned to me on the phone, Chuck, that you've got some upcoming activities that you wanted to highlight. Now, I'm just going to sit back and be quiet and listen to you. Go ahead.
Okay. We have we were going to have a veterans luncheon on Veterans Day, but that has had to be canceled because of the COVID thing. But we are planning for the week before Christmas. We're trying to put together Christmas stockings for all the veterans in the nursing homes, and we're looking for donations. The Elks over in Rupert has a collection spot for clothing and socks and those kind of things that we need to get for these veterans. And then on the 19th of December, the Vietnam Veterans of America, which is one of our groups, is doing the Wreaths Across America at the View and the Pella Cemetery. They will be doing a program, and then they will be placing the wreaths at every veteran's grave in those two cemeteries. And so that's what's coming up so far. But we're looking for donations for the Christmas stockings, and we're looking for people to send Christmas cards to all the vets that they can think of. And if they need a number at a specific nursing home, they can call me at 208-678-3599. We would really love to make this a happy Christmas for these ladies and gentlemen that are in the nursing homes.
Well, let me ask you this real quick, Chuck, and then we'll take a call. What kinds of donations would be the most appreciated?
The biggest thing is going to be socks or blankets. I think we pretty well have the clothing underlined. We could use candy. We can use, we're going to be having to buy a couple of boxes of fruit, things like that. So we're just trying to collect what we can.
Okay.
We've done it for the last 12 years at Parkview. We're now opening it to all the nursing homes in both counties.
Okay, now, real quick before we take the caller, how many veterans are we talking about? Are we talking about 30, 40? What's the number that we need to be concerned with?
Right now it's 35.
35. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's take this call real quick. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Oh, yeah, you said something about on Veterans Day you can't do anything because of COVID. Well, unless people start saying no, COVID will never end. There's no law that says that you can't get together on Veterans Day. And just say no. Just do what you need to do. There's no reason not to have that. That's what I needed to say.
Caller, I thank you for that. And, Chuck, that caller and I share quite a bit of the similar feelings. I'm to the point where we've been reading and hearing about mandates, about not being able to get with your family on Thanksgiving, etc. This has got to stop. I mean, the virus is never going to go away. And we can't curtail being humanity or being human and trying to help humanity with our families and our friends.
I agree with you. The only problem is that some people adhere to, making sure they don't go someplace when they're sick and others don't.
Yeah.
And I had one of my neighbors who's a veteran who died of COVID-related sickness. And so we're just trying to be cautious to make sure that our veterans, who are usually the more vulnerable part of our population, aren't exposed to these things.
No, I understand.
That doesn't stop us from getting together in small groups. That doesn't stop us from getting together and doing things for our neighbors. But it does stop large group gatherings because we're afraid of spreading the virus.
Okay. Now, are there any other events that you want to mention this morning?
I don't have any right now, but I will let you know if there's any that pop up on the screen here.
Well, I'm going to jump in, and I'm going to tell you, Chuck, that if you'll send me the particulars about the numbers of vets and some of the things that are needed and wanted, I guarantee you're going to get them. And all I want you to do is just kind of put together in the form of an email as much information as you can. And with my audience that listens every single day on this program, you can rest assured you're going to get what you need.
I appreciate that. There is one thing that I would like to ask the veterans in the audience to do. There's a group called the Mini-Cassia Veterans Group. They provide the last rites for funerals for veterans, and we could use more numbers. And they're actually meeting tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the VFW Hall in Burley. And if you're interested at all in helping us with that, we'd sure be glad to meet with you then.
What would be the parameters as far as what they would have to do, et cetera, or do they already know?
Well, most of them who've been in the military will know, about holding flags and or being on the firing squad or helping to fold the flag. But anything they need to know, we can train them to do.
All right. I really want you to send me that information and my telephone number. I think you've got my cell phone number. Feel free to call, and I'll give you the email and everything so that we can really highlight helping our veterans. You said there's about 35. Well, I'll guarantee you we're going to work hard to make sure everybody gets what they need.
I sure appreciate it, Zeb. I know that I can count on your listeners.
Well, I can too. They're the best people in the world, I guarantee it. Chuck Driscoll, Mini-Cassia Veteran Service Officer. I mean this when I say this. God bless you for all you do. Thank you for being on the program this morning.
One more word. Go vote.
Amen. Amen, brother. Thank you very much. Chuck, appreciate it. Come back soon. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
All righty. I will do all I can to help our veterans, and I know my audience will too. And as soon as we get that list from Chuck, we're going to go to work on it. Please, I know my audience, my listeners will help. Time for the weather, and then we'll take some more of your phone calls about Voting Day USA. The weather is brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh boy, you can go to their website and check out all the absolutely phenomenal, delicious meats, whether it's the tri-tips or the marinated pork ribs or all the hams and all the turkeys. It's that time of year. All the different bacons and sausages. Oh, the list goes on and on. Or you can give them a call at 324-7657. Remember, Don Scarrow and his excellent crew at Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
We are expecting a beautiful day for today as we are making our way through this work week. Sunny skies is what we're looking at. High of about 69, winds out of the east-northeast at about 5 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly clear and calm, low of 35. Tomorrow, it's going to be beautiful. Sunny skies, high of 69 with an overnight low of 36 by Thursday. Sunny and 71 Friday, slight chance of rain showers, partly sunny and 59. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb.
Oh, my, I'll tell you what, that's not too bad. But, she didn't say what the extended for next week's going to do. And I'm a little bit concerned that we're going to see some changes. Weather forecast brought to you by Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Again, that telephone number, 324-7657. At Scarrow's Meats, they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We were talking during the break before Dr. History about this idiocy of a California Thanksgiving mandate. Holy smokes, we're going to have to talk about that a little bit more on tomorrow's program. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
In liberal cities across this nation, they are boarding up their downtown areas, the smart business owners, in fear of, or in a projection of a Donald Trump win. Now, we're not saying that he's going to win, but these people seem to believe something that others may not want them to believe. But, if Biden wins, there will be no, riots and destruction. And if Trump wins, they're already preparing for it.
Isn't it interesting, though, Randy, that we know who the culprits are because the people that are boarding up their businesses and taking precautions, many of which have put signs on the wood outside their windows, we respect Black Lives Matter. It's almost like they're capitulating to Black Lives Matter, and they're afraid that Black Lives Matter is going to burn or destroy their business. Have you noticed that?
Oh, yeah. See, this is the thing. I read an article about China, and we know that Biden and Hunter are already compromised till hell won't have it with China. Now, China is everywhere all the time, and they are undermining everything that has to do with America. And so they're constantly undermining us, whether or not it's home or abroad, our interests abroad. And so the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, has been funding Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And there's no doubt about it. I had to read it in the publication in Primus. I know it's a fact, and so it isn't like it's something I just made up.
No, I agree with you. I just think it's absolutely a crime against our American society that the left, they're coming right out beforehand and saying if we don't get what we want, we're going to burn, pillage, and loot and destroy. And that, to me, in our American society is absolutely not acceptable.
Well, let's just hope. And there's signs pointing to the fact that it could be such an overwhelming Trump victory that it wouldn't matter what straggler votes are coming in on some swing state, some county in some swing state. And so once Trump is elected, and let's pray and that he is, then he can call out the National Guard because he is the commander-in-chief. And that is, his job.
Absolutely.
And he will put an end to it quickly. And maybe there would be such an unbelievable statement across this nation to people who oppose him and the Democrats who run the cities and the states that maybe, I don't know if you'll ever change them, but maybe they'll be so put in their place that maybe they'll shut up for at least, an evening.
One can only hope and one can only pray that we can restore some civility back to this country. Randy, God bless you, man. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Our major sponsor, I want to talk about them just a little bit, and then we'll take a call if I have time. Stand by, caller. I'll hurry. I want to remind everybody that it's tire changing time. That's right, it's tire changing season because we're going to be seeing some changes in the weather, the mud, the yuck, the mess, and the snow and everything. Make sure you've got the best of tires to get you through where you're going. Stop into your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And also with the tires, the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. Very important batteries. And above all, the best in service. With James and Buell, Dan on Poline in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, and my buddy Trent on Overland in Burley. Nobody better. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go.
You betcha. Hey, I heard from a pretty good source that if Trump is reelected, tomorrow's going to be free TV day.
It's not funny.
Or your model might be gone.
It's not funny, but I certainly hope that actions are taken so that people that want to do the dastardly deeds are put down with force.
Exactly. Now, on a lighter note from Mr. Willie Nelson, when I started counting my blessings, my whole life turned around.
There you go. How well said. Hey, listen, Doug, God bless you, man. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning. I got to run. Thank you so much. That's going to do it for today. We're going to wrap it up, put it back in the box, and be ready to open it up again tomorrow morning at 8:06 when we'll start another version or edition of Zeb at the Ranch. I want to thank you all for being a part of the program, and don't forget to go vote. The way things were are the way things ought to be, and the 4 words that mean the most to me, in God we trust. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06. God bless.